Welcome to Crypto Knows, and this channel is for you to learn everything about cryptocurrencies. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you want to learn more every
Coming in at number 38 on this year's list, Ripple. The company uses blockchain to send money across borders for financial institutions, and it uses the token XRP to do it. Join us now, Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of Ripple. Just generally about the crypto arena and what we've seen, because there's an article today, Brad, about, I guess it's hearkening back to the colonial situation, pipeline and ransomware, et cetera. And the thrust is that we just need to ban crypto. And it's set forth, here's all the reasons. I think about everything that you've set up with blockchain and DeFi and how this can really effectively replace a lot of existing systems like Swift or whatever, and it really works well. Do you think that, I mean, what do you make of someone that makes that case, given all the blockchain infrastructure and everything else, not just around Bitcoin, but do you think that this toothpaste ever goes back in the tube like that because you can use it for ransomware?
The question you're asking is a really important one, and I think it gets to the kind of the core of sometimes just a misunderstanding about how these technologies can be applied in a way that actually is really good for businesses, for citizens, for just the community at large. And so when we talk about, like, should we ban something, let's make sure we understand what we're talking about. The way Ripple uses these technologies, as you introduced, is we can make cross-border payments, which are slow and expensive today. We can make them real-time, very efficient, very low cost, and that's good for the global economy. We can unlock trillions of dollars kind of trapped capital to make the economy more efficient. And so blockchain technologies can be applied in a lot of really constructive ways. That's reducing friction, whether that be transaction cost, transaction speed. But again, for Ripple, that's around payments. But, you know, I think to say, hey, let's just ban all this, yes, the toothpaste might already be out, and I don't know how you get it back in.
So, yeah, I want to differentiate between central banks and banks in general. So banks in general see Bitcoin definitely as a huge threat because it endangers their monopoly and their ability to effectively create money out of thin air. So obviously, most banks are going to be against such practices, and many central bank leaders come from the banking industry, so they basically sing the same song, right? So I think most of the kind of centralized or traditional finance world is definitely looks at this as unstable and threatening, unproven technology. At the same time, the people worldwide are seeing, they're fed up of seeing rates being manipulated, seeing banks effectively have predatory practices, banks never being held responsible, especially after the 2008 collapse, where just a year later, bankers were paid all-time record bonuses. So all these things are what's driving the Bitcoin revolution. And governments, including central banks, worldwide effectively represent the interest of the people. And if the people are voting for Bitcoin, central banks need to follow and deliver what the people are asking for.
And we want to educate and invest in this space for the future. But I'm curious what you think, Robert. You know, when I've looked at some of the innovation happening in the space in the last 12 months, it's a bit like what we were doing 30 years ago with derivatives on Wall Street, except people all around the world are doing it. And Robert, they're doing it in a transparent way. So curious your take on it, because you've seen booms and busts your whole career. So what are your thoughts here?
Well, it's probably the reason I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it's simply because I don't trust the central banks. I don't trust the Treasury. I don't trust Wall Street. And I don't trust our school system. And as we were talking before you came on, it's what drives me. I don't need the money. But the other thing, too, is what Rich Dad, Poor Dad is about is if you don't know anything about money, you have no freedom. You see, the reason there's no financial education in schools is to keep people tethered to the paycheck. So as you recall, you know, you had so many people in your program, you got deplatformed, Trump gets deplatformed. There are many doctors who got fired in the States today. If you don't take the shot, you get fired. So if you just step back for a moment and ask yourself, who in the world can fire you because you need that paycheck? Well, it goes all the way back to school. They said go to school to get fake money, fake teachers, fake assets. The whole system is rigged against you. And it starts when you say to your child, go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, get out of debt, and invest for the long term in a well-diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs. That's a criminal operation. And that's why I wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Than equity portfolios. So the volatility is the price you pay for the performance that you get. And oftentimes the best investment idea isn't the most comfortable investment idea. I think if I told you there's 100% certainty you're going to lose 7% of your money over the course of a year, you might think, well, I have a decade before I lose half of my money. I have time to think about it. That's the status quo when monetary inflation is 7%. If I told you there's a 100% probability that you're going to lose 20% of your money over the next year and half of your money over the next 3 years, well, you might think you need to move faster. Well, what if I told you you're going to lose all your money? What if I told you the currency is going to collapse to zero in 3 months, which is kind of what it did in Zimbabwe and Venezuela? Or what if I told you we're going to have 95% inflation? I think the unofficial inflation rate in Argentina is like 85% this year. What if I told you we're going to have hyperinflation? Everything will be twice as expensive next year. Now, how long would you wait before you took a risk? If I really want to, get you to jump out of the pot, right?
That's why I support you. I'll give you courage. I have no respect for those effing school teachers. My whole family are school teachers. They're good people, but they're cowards. They're so afraid someone's going to cut that line. And that's what keeps people tethered. So what Rich Dad teaches is that if you don't need money, what could you do? So that's why I support what you do and all this. And, my friend Donald Trump and I, we get hammered too. He doesn't need money either.
Right. Robert,
But
how do we
people don't understand why that is? Oprah Winfrey had me on her program in 2000. Now she's worth 3.5 billion. Okay. Guess who turned me down? The editors of New York Times. So who has more money? Oprah or New York? The editors. The editors probably make 100,000 a year. Oprah makes 3.5 billion. Oprah is a capitalist. The people who are the New York Times, communists. It's that simple. They don't know anything about money.
Yeah.
And so the way they can promote communism is by never teaching you about money. So what we at Rich Dad did was, since they're teaching communism in our schools, I created the cash flow board game and our books and YouTube things to teach capitalism in our homes. I'm against school systems. They're criminal operations.
Countries you have seen in the UK, Japan, Switzerland, Singapore. These are G20 markets where they have invested the time and energy either through legislation or rulemaking to provide that clarity and that certainty. And that allows investors to participate, that allows entrepreneurs to build, that allows people to build companies that make the CNBC disruptor list. So here in the United States, we haven't had that clarity. I think, just to correct something you said, Ripple actually doesn't control XRP. XRP is an open source technology, very analogous to Bitcoin. In contrast, XRP is very efficient in terms of speed of transaction. It is a carbon neutral blockchain. So these are all examples of it being more efficient, but all of the XRP that has ever been created has already been created. So it's a zero inflation dynamic. But the core of what you're talking about around regulation, I think.